What if I told you that without realizing it, you may be walking the exact path that leads to bankruptcy, not only financially, but also spiritually? Sounds strong, doesn't it? But the truth is that this is happening right now in the lives of thousands of people, and maybe in yours too. The scariest thing? Most of them have no idea they're on this path. What you're about to discover may surprise you, because this isn't just my opinion or some random video on the internet. It's written thousands of years ago in Proverbs 6, a spiritual manual that reveals with surgical precision the behaviors that lead anyone straight to failure, whether in business, in their personal life, or in their spiritual connection. And the most curious thing is that these same principles years later were reinforced by the greatest success experts in history, such as Napoleon Hill. Does it seem like a coincidence? It isn't. There is a pattern, an invisible but extremely dangerous path that silently takes you away from prosperity, abundance, and spiritual peace. And do you know what's worse? It is built by small habits, seemingly harmless decisions, which, when you realize, have already turned into a prison that prevents you from achieving what you desire so much: financial freedom, emotional balance, and a prosperous life aligned with your purpose. Let me ask you, have you ever felt like this? That constant feeling that you are always fighting, always trying, but it seems like you never get anywhere, that the more you fight, the more difficulties, debts, frustrations, discouragement arise, and a huge weight on your chest that makes you question, was I born to live like this? Is prosperity not for me? Well, stay with me until the end, because today I'm going to open a map. And on this map, you'll see, perhaps for the first time, the shortcuts that are taking you exactly where you don't want to go. But calm down. It's not about scaring you. It's about clarity. Because when you understand how these mistakes operate in your life, you gain power. And when you gain power, you make decisions that change everything. The most interesting thing is that both the Bible, through Proverbs 6, and Napoleon Hill, in the classic Think and Grow Rich, point out exactly the same pillars that lead you to failure or success. They talk about the same root, and that root is called behavior. It's not bad luck, it's not destiny, it's discipline, it's action, it's mindset, it's faith applied in practice, not just in words. And look, maybe you've never stopped to think that some simple attitudes, like procrastinating on that project, engaging in negative conversations, avoiding responsibility, or even neglecting your spiritual life, are actually traps that are undermining your prosperity day after day without you realizing it. Sounds heavy? It is. But it's real. And I assure you, ignoring this is expensive, very expensive. So pay close attention to what I'm going to reveal to you from now on. Because understanding this code isn't just about making money. It's not just about success. It's about building a life where your soul and your wallet thrive together. A life where you finally feel in control, free from the cycle of scarcity and stagnation. So take a deep breath, because from this moment on, I'm going to take you on a journey where every word you hear could be the turning point between continuing to walk in circles or finally starting to walk the path to true prosperity. And to begin, we need to look head-on at these 6 silent but extremely dangerous mistakes that are described in Proverbs 6. And look, before I reveal each of these 6 mistakes that are often pulling you into this cycle of spiritual and financial failure, I want to open my heart to you. Because if this subject makes sense to you, if in some way these words are already awakening you, if they are lighting up that warning sign within you, that deep desire for transformation, then do one thing right now. Leave a statement of faith and prosperity about your life in the comments. Write it like this, in your own way, but leave it on record. I choose today to leave the path of scarcity and walk the path of prosperity. Do you know why? Because when you declare, when you write, you are not just participating in the video, you are activating a powerful energy of transformation in your own life. This is not just about words. It is about decision. It is about commitment to your own growth. And what's more, when you comment, you also help this video reach more people who, like you, urgently need to hear this message. And look, if this is making sense to you so far, if in some way you are feeling welcomed, challenged, or even impacted, click like now. This isn't just a button. This is you telling YouTube, this content is transformative. This content needs to reach more people. And really, your likes are the fuel that keeps this channel going, growing, and bringing this message of faith, prosperity, discipline, and transformation to more and more lives. It is clear. If you are not yet subscribed to the channel, take the opportunity to subscribe now. I tell you from the bottom of my heart, if this content is moving you, it's because this is our journey. Here we go far beyond tips. Together we build a new mindset, a new spirituality, a new reality. And I really want you to stay with me, because in the next videos I'll show you, step by step, how to apply these principles every day to unlock your financial, spiritual, and personal life once and for all. So activate the bell now, because each video here is a key, a map, a watershed for those who are truly determined to get out of the path of scarcity and live the plan of prosperity that God has for their life. Now, take a deep breath, because from this point on, I'm going to start showing you, one by one, the 6 behaviors that Proverbs 6 denounces, and that are often sabotaging your prosperity without you realizing it. And maybe now, as you listen to me, a part of you is starting to identify with all of this. That suffocating feeling of being stuck in a cycle that seems to have no end. You wake up every day determined to change your life, determined to transform your financial, spiritual, and even emotional reality. But somehow, it seems like things just don't flow. The more you try, the more a blockage, a distraction, a new difficulty appears that pulls you back to the same old place. And you know, this is no coincidence. There is a hidden truth behind this pattern that almost no one has told you. But that is written directly and bluntly in Proverbs 6. There, in the lines of this ancient text, is the map of behaviors that, without you realizing it, keep you exactly where you don't want to be. And Napoleon Hill, decades later, confirmed exactly the same thing when he said that indecision and procrastination are twin sisters that destroy any chance of success. Procrastination is sneaky. It disguises itself as tiredness, as it's not the right time, as I'll start tomorrow. And that's how days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months. And before you know it, your life is at a standstill. Your projects are shelved, your personal transformation hasn't happened, and your prosperity seems increasingly distant. And there's more. Proverbs 6 talks about those who sit around, staring into space, crossing their arms and waiting for something to fall from the sky. This behavior is not just about physical laziness, but mainly about a lack of internal movement, a mentality that expects miracles without understanding that faith without action is completely dead. Napoleon Hill already taught that faith needs to be transformed into an action plan with daily discipline and absolute focus. But I know it's not a lack of will. It's as if something is pulling you back, as if there is an invisible force that makes you believe that you are not capable, that perhaps success, prosperity, and balance are things that only happen in other people's lives. Have you ever felt like this? As if you were fighting against an invisible current? The truth is that this current exists, and it is fed by cycles of self-sabotage, procrastination, excuses, and postponed decisions. And do you know what makes this even more cruel? It's that these patterns start small. You don't realize it. It's a day when you decide not to do it. It's a goal that you put off. It's that conversation with yourself saying, I don't know if I can do it, I don't know if it's for me. And when you least expect it, you're drowning in debt, anxiety, frustration, and often even wondering where God is in all of this. And God is. He always has been. But He also left clear principles like the one in Proverbs 6 to warn us about the paths that lead to scarcity and the paths that lead to prosperity. Napoleon Hill emphasizes that every transformation begins with a conscious decision, a non-negotiable choice to leave survival mode and enter growth mode, prosperity mode, spiritual and mental discipline mode, because if you don't do it for yourself, no one else will. The truth is hard, I know, but it's liberating. And now I want to go even deeper into this subject because it's exactly at this point that the revelation of the silent patterns that are keeping you from the life you want to live begins. Comment here. I choose to break this cycle. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject because this is where one of the biggest revelations of this journey begins. There is a truth hidden between the lines of Proverbs 6 that many people have never realized. And when you understand this, it all makes sense. There, God warns us about 6 behaviors that together form a kind of invisible script for the destruction of prosperity, not only financial, but also spiritual, emotional, and even relational. And the most curious thing is that centuries later, Napoleon Hill, in the book Think and Grow Rich, confirms exactly the same principles. None of this is coincidence. There is a clear pattern operating behind the scenes in the lives of those trapped in cycles of scarcity. The first of these is laziness in disguise. And maybe you think, oh, but I'm not lazy. But often laziness isn't physical. It's mental, spiritual, and emotional. It's that hidden resistance that keeps you from getting started, from persisting, from committing to your transformation. Proverbs 6 is direct. Go to the ant, you sluggard, observe her ways and be wise. This is about discipline, consistency, and not expecting things to magically happen. The second mistake is the lack of planning. Napoleon Hill said that a goal without a plan is just a wish. And honestly, how many times have you found yourself wishing for a better life, but without a real structured plan with clear actions? Proverbs warns that those who do not organize themselves, who do not prepare, reap scarcity. And this is not divine punishment, it is a natural consequence. The third point is devastating and often invisible, bad company. Proverbs 6 speaks of those who rush to evil and make haste to shed blood. Translating this into our reality, these are toxic friendships, negative people, influences that drain you, that keep you in mediocrity, that make you believe that prospering is difficult, wrong, or impossible. And Napoleon Hill reinforces this concept with the principle of mastermind. He teaches that you become the average of the people you spend the most time with. This is very serious. And here comes the fourth mistake, silent but extremely destructive. Gossip, slander, constant criticism. Proverbs 6 is clear when it speaks of lying tongues and false witnesses. And you may not even realize it, but participating in negative conversations, feeding judgments, talking about other people's lives, all of this contaminates your frequency, your energy, and yes, it blocks your prosperity. Napoleon Hill also warns about this. Your mind is like a garden. If you don't plant flowers, weeds grow. The fifth mistake is the dishonesty, both with others and with yourself. It's when you say you're going to start, but you don't. When you promise yourself that you're going to change, but you don't follow through. When you're always sabotaging yourself, lying to your own soul. And Proverbs doesn't mince words. He who sows discord among brothers. This applies directly to your integrity, to your relationship with yourself, with God, and with the world. Finally, the sixth mistake is the lack of spiritual and mental discipline. It is neglecting your faith, your connection with God, your mindset, your energy. Napoleon Hill teaches that everything begins in the mind, and the Bible confirms in Romans 12:2, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." Without this internal transformation, there is no prosperity that can be sustained. These 6 mistakes are literally a surefire path to spiritual, emotional, and financial bankruptcy. And unfortunately, most people fall into them every day without even realizing it. Comment below, "I refuse to live in that cycle." Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because when you start to observe, you realize that these errors we just revealed are not just old concepts. They are not just distant words from a sacred book or a personal development author. They are here in our daily lives, disguised, acting behind the scenes of our routine, silently influencing our decisions, our mindset, and even our spiritual connection. And do you know what is scary? The current world was designed to keep you stuck in these cycles. Think about it. It's never been so easy to fall into the trap of procrastination. All you have to do is open your phone, and there you have it. Endless scrolling through social media, short videos, distractions that steal your focus, your discipline, and your energy. While you think you're just relaxing, in fact, you're postponing your dreams, your projects, and your personal transformation. Proverbs 6 warned about this thousands of years ago. Those who sit around, who put things off, end up reaping poverty, scarcity, and frustration. And Napoleon Hill reinforces this same truth when he says that procrastination is the #1 killer of dreams. And it doesn't stop there. We live in a culture that constantly pushes consumerism. The message that reaches you every day is clear. Buy, spend, distract yourself, compare. And do you know what this leads to? People who are emotionally, spiritually, and financially in debt. Proverbs is very direct when it says, "The sluggard craves and has nothing, but the soul of the diligent is satisfied." This isn't just about money, it's about life as a whole. Because while you're looking to fill voids with things, what you really need is clarity, discipline, faith, and action. And look, it's impossible to ignore how much spirituality has been neglected in this chaotic scenario. People are so busy, so distracted, so caught up in the rush that they simply disconnect from what really matters: their essence, their faith, their connection with God. And this is serious, because without this spiritual foundation, without this alignment, any financial, emotional, or professional construction collapses. Napoleon Hill is categorical when he states that all success begins in the mind and spirit. And the Bible reinforces this in Matthew 6:33. "Seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, and all these things will be added to you." This is more than a verse. It's a life strategy. The world pushes you into this hole, but you can choose to resist. You can choose the path of prosperity, transformation, discipline, and real connection with God and the purpose He designed for your life. And make no mistake, this is not a comfortable decision. It is a daily, conscious, intentional choice. Because while most people go on autopilot, on the pilot of distraction, comparison, and stagnation, you have the opportunity today, here, to break this cycle and begin a completely different journey. Everything you are hearing now is not theory. It is pure, practical, and urgent reality. And the most incredible thing is to realize that these truths were all there, all along, in the scriptures and in the teachings of the greatest scholars of success, such as Napoleon Hill. It is as if God had left a manual, and those who truly understand and apply it simply prosper from the inside out. Comment here, "I choose to live in alignment with truth." Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because it's not enough to just identify these patterns that are dragging you down. Knowing this is only half the battle. True transformation begins when you decide consciously and non-negotiably to break these cycles and build a new reality. And believe me, there is a formula, a very clear way out, which is found both in the scriptures and in the principles taught by Napoleon Hill. And when you connect these two universes, the spiritual and the practical, that's when change becomes real, tangible, and powerful. The first key to this formula is to look inside yourself very honestly and identify your own negative cycles. Ask yourself, what are the patterns that I repeat every day that are keeping me stuck? Is it procrastination? Is it lack of organization? Is it engaging in empty, negative conversations that drain your energy? Proverbs 6 warns us about exactly this, about how small, seemingly harmless actions become giant holes that suck away our prosperity. Napoleon Hill reinforces this same idea when he says, "The human mind attracts that which it constantly focuses on, and if you focus on distractions, excuses, and self-sabotage, that is exactly what you will reap." The second key is simple but brutally powerful: daily discipline. And there is no magic here, no miraculous formula. It is choosing every day to feed your mind with thoughts that move you forward, strengthening your spirituality with prayer, Bible reading, alignment with God, and at the same time, organizing your financial life, your projects, and your goals. Proverbs makes this very clear when it says that well-laid plans lead to plenty, but he who is hasty ends in poverty. Napoleon Hill translates this as the principle of organized planning, which is nothing more than taking your purpose and breaking it down into daily, consistent, executable steps. And there's something that few people understand, but that changes everything. You can't walk this journey alone. This is where another powerful principle comes in, which Napoleon Hill calls mastermind, the strength that arises when you connect with people who are aligned, who push you, who challenge you, who inspire you to be better. And look, the Bible already talked about this long ago in Proverbs 27:17, as iron sharpens iron, so one man sharpens another. This is not just about friendship. It is about choosing to be surrounded by those who are on the same wavelength, at the same level of consciousness, in the same search for growth, prosperity, and transformation. And to conclude this formula, there is one point that cannot be negotiated: absolute focus on your purpose. Do you know why? Because if you don't know where you want to go, any distraction will lead you astray. Any obstacle will become a reason to give up. Napoleon Hill emphasizes this a lot. Having a defined purpose is the first step to any achievement. And the Bible confirms this in Habakkuk 2:2, when it says, "Write the vision, inscribe it on tablets so that it will be easily read." This is about clarity. It's about knowing exactly what kind of life you want to build, spiritually, emotionally, financially, and not accepting anything less than that. This is the route. This is the path that separates those who live stuck, trapped in cycles of scarcity, from those who choose every day to walk in the direction of prosperity, abundance, and alignment with God. Comment below, "I choose to live this transformation." Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because for a long time, I also walked this exact path of self-sabotage, stagnation, and frustration. And do you know what's even crazier? I didn't even realize it. It was like I was trapped in an invisible cycle where everything seemed to go wrong. I would wake up full of desire to change my life, full of plans, dreams, and expectations. But at the end of the day, the feeling was always the same. It seemed like nothing was moving forward. Nothing was really changing. And to be completely honest with you, it was painful to face this reality. I found myself repeating exactly the behaviors that Proverbs 6 denounces. Procrastination dominated me in a subtle way, disguised as well-deserved rest or "I'll do it tomorrow." And, without realizing it, I was letting my spiritual discipline, my connection with God, and my own dreams slip through my fingers. And the cruelest thing is that the more I put it off, the heavier it became. More anxiety, more feelings of inability, more discouragement. Napoleon Hill was right when he said that the habit of procrastination is the number one enemy of success. And that wasn't all. I also found myself surrounded by empty conversations, friendships that didn't motivate me, environments that fed mediocrity, complaints, criticism, victimhood. And you know, there comes a time when if you don't choose to disconnect from it, it sucks you in completely. It was at this point in my journey that, almost without realizing it, I stumbled somewhat desperately upon the words of Proverbs 6, which sounded to me like a cry of warning. And soon after, as if God were leading me to this encounter, I learned the principles of Napoleon Hill. That's when everything started to make sense, because I realized it wasn't just about faith, and it wasn't just about technique either. It was about aligning the two. It was about understanding that God has already left a manual, that prosperity, transformation, and abundance are direct consequences of a position, of a renewed mindset, of intentional, daily, consistent decisions. That's when I stopped asking for miracles without action and started to transform prayer into movement. I started asking myself every day, what today brings me closer to my purpose? What today takes me away from it? And honestly, it was challenging, because it's not easy to look in the mirror and recognize that the life you're living is often the result of the choices you've made, of the cycles you didn't have the courage to break. But it was also liberating, because from that point on, I understood that I no longer needed to be held hostage by procrastination, distraction, fear, or lack of clarity. I could, with discipline, faith, and action, build a completely new life. And more than that, a life aligned with the principles of the kingdom of God and the practical foundations that Napoleon Hill teaches. This was, without a doubt, one of the greatest revelations of my journey. And the truth is that if it worked for me, it works for anyone who is willing to make this realignment, because there is nothing more powerful than living a life where your spirituality, your mindset, and your actions are moving in the same direction. Comment below, I'm breaking that cycle now. Now I want to go even deeper into this subject, because understanding all of this is just the beginning. There is a very clear divide between those who simply consume this type of content and those who truly choose to experience a concrete, visible, and tangible transformation. And honestly, this difference is not in luck, nor in chance, nor in destiny. It is in the decisions. It is in how willing you are today, here and now, to break once and for all with the patterns that imprison you. Because I guarantee you, either you control your mind, your actions, and your habits, or they will control you, limit you, and keep you exactly where you no longer want to be. And I tell you this with complete sincerity, because there is no prosperity without responsibility. There is no transformation without decision. And you know, both Proverbs 6 as the teachings of Napoleon Hill shout this truth between the lines. Everything changes when you stop outsourcing your life, your faith, your results, and take on the role of protagonist in your own story. The Apostle Paul already said in Romans 12:2, "Do not be conformed to this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind." And look, this is not a suggestion. It is a direction. It is a key that opens doors that have been locked for years. So now, I want to challenge you. And it is not a symbolic challenge. It is not a task for you to think about, reflect on, and leave for later. It is something practical, real, immediate. Starting today, you will choose with clarity and courage a habit, a pattern, a toxic cycle that is dragging you down, and you are going to eliminate it from your life. It doesn't matter if it's procrastination, too much social media, comparison, negative self-talk, financial disorganization, or neglecting your spiritual life. Pick one and cut it out. No negotiation, no excuses, no procrastination, because this is the first real step on the journey of those who want to escape the path of spiritual, emotional, and financial bankruptcy and definitively enter the path of prosperity, abundance, transformation, and alignment with God. And this is not just a nice speech, it is not empty motivation. It is a spiritual, practical, and non-negotiable principle. The Bible has already made this clear in James 2:17. Faith, if it does not have works, is dead in itself. And Napoleon Hill confirms this when he says, action is the true measure of intelligence. In other words, knowing is not enough. You have to do it. And do you know what's even more powerful? When you make a public decision, something changes inside you. Because at that exact moment, you stop being someone who just wishes, dreams, or imagines, and become someone who takes a stand, who commits, who says to the universe, to God, and to themselves, I'm ready. I choose this transformation. I choose this new path. And this internal movement has a huge impact on everything you're going to experience from now on. Comment below. I choose the path of prosperity. Now, I want to go even deeper into this subject because if there's one thing I've learned on this journey, it's that understanding the root of your problems is just the gateway to a much greater transformation. From the moment you consciously choose to abandon these cycles that keep you on the path to spiritual, emotional, and financial bankruptcy, a new stage begins. And it's as powerful as it is indispensable. And do you know why? Because it's not enough to just break with old patterns. You need to build, day after day, the foundations of a prosperous, abundant life that is completely aligned with the spiritual principles and universal laws that govern success. The most interesting thing is that when I started applying everything that Proverbs 6 teaches, combined with the principles that Napoleon Hill reveals in Think and Grow Rich, it was as if a key had turned inside me. And from that moment on, everything started to make sense. Because while many people believe that prosperity is just a matter of luck or waiting for a miracle to fall from the sky, the Bible makes it very clear in Deuteronomy 28. If you will diligently listen to the voice of the Lord your God, all these blessings will come upon you and overtake you. And Napoleon Hill reinforces this same truth when he states that whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. This is not theory, it is principle, it is law. It works for those who apply it. And there is something very serious about this process that few people talk about. When you start to align your spirituality with your mindset, something starts to change, not only inside, but also outside. Your results change, your relationships change, your energy field elevates, and what once seemed impossible starts to become achievable. Because you understand that there is no separation between faith and action, between prayer and movement, between spirituality and prosperity. And if there is one thing that this journey has taught me, it is that God did not create you to live in scarcity, fear, or survival. He created you to grow, to make an impact, to prosper, to live a life of abundance from the inside out. And look, I tell you with complete conviction, if you've made it this far in this video, it's not by chance. There is a calling upon your life, a greater purpose that has often remained hidden, dormant, buried by the noise of this world, by cycles of procrastination, distraction, doubt, and fear. But now, at this very moment, you are no longer the same person who pressed play at the beginning, because knowledge transforms, consciousness liberates, and decision changes destinies. And yes, now you carry a new responsibility, the responsibility of no longer ignoring this truth, of no longer settling for crumbs, for an average life, for faith without action or action without purpose. Because from here on, you understand that there is a much higher path, a journey that unites spirituality, discipline, mentality, and prosperity in such a powerful way that the results become inevitable. And if you feel this way, if this content touched you, if something inside you is vibrating differently now, write it in the comments. I choose to live a life of alignment and prosperity. If you've made it this far, I can honestly say that this already says a lot about you, about your willingness, about how committed you are to your transformation, to your journey, to building a life completely aligned with purpose, faith, and prosperity. And look, if this content made sense to you, if it brought you clarity, if it awakened something inside you, leave your like here. Because yes, this makes all the difference for me and for this channel to continue growing, taking this message to those who also need to hear it. Take advantage and subscribe, because this space is for those who are truly determined to break cycles, to break with patterns of scarcity and live an abundant life. From the inside out, with discipline, faith, mindset, and action. And if you're with me until the end, comment below. I'm with you until the end, just so I know that you are part of this group of people who not only watch, but who decide, take a stand, and choose this journey. And look, it doesn't stop here, no. There's a video right here that complements exactly everything we talked about today. So click and continue with me there, because this journey is just beginning. Let's go together.